Booktube, we are back and we have a lot of catching up to do. So let's go over my August and September recap as well as my October preview. Before we get into the books, before we get into the recap, I just gotta say August and September were some absolutely incredible months. From a reading standpoint, from a life standpoint, absolutely incredible. And one of the best things that happened is that this channel, this community has grown to over 14,000 subscribers in the past 3 months, which is absolutely crazy. And I do not take that for granted. And I appreciate you all your recommendations, your reviews, all the engagement that you come on my posts and, talk to me about the books that you like, books that you didn't like. And I appreciate all that from that perspective there. Apologies for not getting the recap for August last month. It's been an incredibly busy time. So hopefully I can stick to it going forward. But before I go into my recap, what books did you end up reading in August, September that were great or maybe not so great for you? I'm really curious, and let's go into, my books, my recap from there. All right, let's dive into August. August was absolutely incredible. So the first book that I ended up reading, it was kind of spillover from July, was The Rhythm of War. The Rhythm of War is the fourth book in the Stormlight Archive, and the Stormlight Archive is literally just one of the best series out there. I don't know how many times I got to keep telling people who have not read the series yet to get on it. The fifth book comes out in December. Super excited for it, Wind and Truth. But the fourth book, I gave a 5 out of 5. Now, was it my favorite book in the series? No. However, still slaps, still fire, still amazing. We still follow the same cast of characters, but the stakes are higher. And I think with Brandon Sanderson, this was probably his most emotional book. There were times in this book that I didn't experience maybe in the past few books in the Stormlight Archive. I did experience in the Hero of Ages, where it was very emotional, like the dog and the dragon scene, very emotional. There's another scene later on, no spoilers, that was super, super emotional. And I think this is one of Brandon Sanderson's best work when he kind of not only strings at your emotions from, at least in the Stormlight Archive, but also, this kind of mixed sci-fi into the mix too as well, which I thought was absolutely incredible. And I know Wind and Truth probably going to take more outside of, the planet that we're on right now, more outside of Roshar. But I'm down for the sci-fi fantasy mix when it comes to Stormlight Archive. I'm really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to the character's growth. And we'll see how Wind and Truth, kind of sums up this part of the series, because I think the Wind and Truth is going to be this ending of this part of the series, of this era. And obviously, the sixth book, whenever that comes out, is going to be a start of a new era. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think. But yeah, Rhythm of War, I started that in July. I finished it in August. I actually finished that on my way to Tokyo, Japan, which has always been a dream of mine. And, we'll kind of go over that in a little bit there from that perspective. So Rhythm of War, first read of August, first finished read of August, 5 out of 5. The next read, and again, it's like one emotion after another emotion, was Kingdoms of Death. Kingdoms of Death is the fourth book in the Sun Eater series, and it's a series that I want you all to read. I need you all to read. The first 4 books, the first book is Empire of Silence. The second book is Howling Dark. The third book is Demon in White. And obviously the fourth book is Kingdoms of Death. Kingdoms of Death is probably the most darkest book I've ever read in my entire life. Like, no exaggeration. We still follow Hadrian and Marlowe. The stakes are even higher, but there's a lot more working against them in this book. That was just, it was just nuts. And I'm not going to spoilers. I gotta give Christopher Rocchio his credit. Like, since book 1, I was a fan, but like, just the dynamics, just the way he's able to continue to set the bar in terms of his writing, in terms of, Hadrian Marlowe being the imperfect character that he is. I'm just locked into the Sun Eater series. I did have to take a break after reading Kingdoms of Death because it was dark. If you read it, the last probably 200 pages, probably one of the darkest reads you will ever read. And it makes you wonder, you love the main characters of stories, but again, the side characters, they really make the stories too as well. And if you know when it comes to, Kingdoms of Death. I gave this one a 5 out of 5. It's like one of those things you remember where you were when a certain scene happened. I was coming on my way back from Tokyo, and I was doing a physical read as well as an audiobook listen to. And I got to the part in the story where it was just insane. And I don't know how you all operate. When it comes to me, I always have to check to see if the gate is there when I'm at an airport. So I was on my way to the gate to see if it was there while listening to the audiobook, because I can't really be doing much when I'm listening to audiobook. Like I can sit down, I can be walking, I can't be like doing anything else. But for some reason, I had the audiobook on while I was walking to my gate, and I hit that scene. I had to sit down. I didn't even want to go to my gate. I had to sit down and rewind it back, because I'm like, Christopher Rocchio, there's no way you did that just now. There's no way you did that just now. Like, absolutely no way. That book was incredible. Book was incredible. I'm looking forward to book 5. Funny enough, I actually got a book 6 copy, signed copy, The Squire Gods. I got a signed copy of that by Christopher Rocchio. Absolutely amazing. We'll talk more about that. But Sun Eater, if you haven't gotten on that yet, you definitely need to check it out. And yeah, the first 2 reads of August was absolutely incredible. And then my last read of August, I only read 3 books in August. And let me not say only. I read 3 books in August, because again, I know a lot of people don't read more or less than that. Was The Shadow of the Gods. Oh my gosh, The Shadow of the Gods was absolutely incredible. This one follows many points of view, and it includes so many things in this story. You have kidnapped kids, you have dragons, you have dead gods, and you have probably one of the most amazing female main characters of all time, Orca Skullsplitter. Oh my gosh! And I'm reading Hunger of the Gods right now. We actually read Shadow of the Gods in the Lady with Smitty book club. If you're not in the Lady with Smitty book club, link in bio. And it's Shadow of the Gods was so good that we're actually reading Hunger of the Gods as another read in the book club. Oh my gosh, Shadow of the Gods is absolutely amazing. I gave that one a 4.5 out of 5. It was an amazing read. It didn't hit all the check boxes for me, but 4.5 is great. Like 4.5 is great enough for me to continue the series. And I'm reading the Hunger of the Gods right now, and I'll let you know how that's going a little bit later there. All right, so that's what I read in August, but what I also watched in August, and I don't really watch that much TV, but I did finish the last episode of House of the Dragon, and I actually enjoyed the last episode. However, why wasn't all the episodes like that? I'm not going to go too far into it because it's the last episode. If you haven't watched House of the Dragon this season, definitely check it out. But besides a couple episodes during the season, this one was probably the best one, but it's also leading up into another Fire season, which is probably going to come out to the year 2027, if we're going to be completely honest. Like, I don't know. But that is my month when it comes to reading and watching. Like I said, I also went to Tokyo, Japan, and that has always been a dream of mine since I was a little kid. I've always been a fan of anime, always been a fan of Japanese culture, and it was absolutely amazing. I went to all these places. It was a solo trip. I was there for like 6 days. I went to all these places, and I highly recommend you all do it. If it wasn't for Book Talk, even BookTube, it wouldn't be possible for me to, kind of go over there and enjoy the culture, enjoy my time, and highly recommend that from there. But the August was jam-packed, but also it was kind of slow, because for me, 3 books is not that much, but they were 3 chunky books though, and I had travel on top of it. But yeah, that is my August recap. Let's go into what I did in September. All right, September, I was home a lot more. And I actually started the month not so hot. So I started reading The Blade itself, and I got 200 pages in, and I actually was not feeling it. And I am not sure why. Maybe because after my last read, I was expecting, this read to be to match up to my last read. And for me, it kind of fell short. And I have a lot of books in my TBR, and I made the decision to soft DNF it. And by soft DNFing it means I'm going to pick it up at a later date. Like if it was a hard DNF, it wouldn't be on my shelf. It's still on my shelf. All 3 books are still on my shelves. It just wasn't the right time for me when it came to The Blade itself. And that's okay. That's okay. I do want to tell you all, I did end up DNFing The Way of Kings back in 2020. Back in 2020. And as you all know, Stormlight Archive is my favorite series of all time. So don't come for me. I will be picking it back up at some point in the future. Just right now is not the time for me. So the first read of September didn't start off too hot. It was First Law, and it was a DNF. The second read, I got my notes there because, again, I don't remember all this here, so I got my notes there. If you see me looking down, I got my notes. The second read of September was absolutely incredible. It was Scythe. And Scythe, if you all are not familiar with Scythe, it's a series. I think there's 3 books in the series right now with like a novella or something like that. Oh my gosh. It's also a YA, and it didn't really read much YA in terms of kind of the events that happened, But this book, this series, I know the rest of the series is going to be absolutely incredible. This book, fire. I gave it a 5 out of 5. And YAs, it's tough sometimes because it's like, all right, like I know what I'm getting myself into. It's not going to cater to adult, but this one was perfect. This one was perfect. So in this one, there's like a society years down the road where all diseases, pretty much all manners of death, is eradicated by a system called a Thunderhead. It's like the cloud, basically. And with that, obviously, as you know, the Earth is continuing to grow the population if there's no death on a constant basis. And there is a Scythe, and it's a group of people who actually end up, curbing the population because, again, if the population gets too out of control, there'd be limited resources from that perspective there. So this group of people, they actually are tasked with having a quota in terms of making sure they glean a certain amount of people a year to make sure the population is under control. And we follow 2 apprentices that kind of force into this, who deal with their morality, their mortality. They deal with everything from that perspective. And the story is so good. It caught me by surprise. Like, it literally caught me by surprise how great this story was. It was a 5 out of 5, easy 5 out of 5 for me. And I will be continuing this series 100% for sure, because I need to get back into with these characters. This story was absolutely amazing. So the next thing I actually ended up doing was a Dark Matter reread. Dark Matter, the book itself, was a 5 out of 5. And the reason why I reread it is because I wanted to see how it compared to the TV show. And it did pretty well. It did pretty well. Wasn't perfect. Not by a long shot, wasn't perfect at all. But I could tell that Blake Crouch was all over the TV show because he incorporated a lot of things from the book into the TV show. The TV show, I think, was 9 episodes long for season 1. Apparently, there's going to be a season 2. There's only one Dark Matter book. The book is 300 pages. So, of course, when it comes to that, there's going to be times where it deviates from there. And there was times where it deviated, some that I liked, some that I didn't like. The biggest thing was that I kind of didn't like was the change of point of views when it came to the book and to the TV show, which was fine at some points, and other points I wasn't feeling it. However, for the book, like I said, I gave it a 5 out of 5, and for the TV show, I rate TV shows and movies on a 10-point scale. I gave this an 8 out of 10. I will be watching the season 2 if it comes out or when it comes out, but Apple TV has a banger with it. In this one, just to kind of describe what it is, in this one, you follow Jason as he kind of tries to get back to his reality, dealing with other alternate realities. And he is actually faced with somebody who's him from another reality, and he's battling his way back to his original reality. I try to do all that without going into spoilers. Hopefully I didn't spoil anything, but that's basically the premise of it. One of the best sci-fis I've ever read. And I do think Apple TV and Blake Crouch did a good job when it comes to TV shows. So I highly recommend that. And then I also read Legendborn, which I don't know where I've been when it comes to Legendborn. Like, I must be living under a rock because I'm very late when it comes to this hype, because this was really hyped. And I was a little cautious about how much hype this was. I thoroughly enjoyed this story. Another YA, I guess September was just a month of YAs. And you know what? You know the reason why I think it's a month of YAs? Because August was very emotional. Always a very emotional month. Even Shadow of the Gods had some emotional moments in it. But reading Rhythm of War and then reading Kings with Death, like, I needed some YA to kind of balance it out. And I mean, it kind of balanced it out. Legendborn, I mean, Scythe, for example, it was very dark at points. And Legendborn was a great read. Still dealt with a lot of, trauma, a lot of drama, a lot of, racial tension when it comes to it. But it's an amazing story. Set on a campus set on the UNC campus, and you follow a teenager as she kind of learns her family history through this early college program. And what she kind of uncovers is a secret magical society. And she kind of gets involved with all this. And like I said, there's a lot of racial tension in there. But this was an absolute fire read. Tracy Dion, she wanted you to feel all the emotions. And did she deliver? Did she deliver? Legendborn, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I will 100% be continuing the series for sure. But that was another read that I got from there. And those were the things that I read in September and watched in September. I also had an interview with Evan Winter. Evan Winter, the author of one of the best books of all time to me, The Rage of Dragons. That is in my YouTube. I will link it into this video too as well if you want to check that out. It's about an hour long. He answers every single question that you can think of from there. And yes, he does answer when book 3 is projected to come out too as well. And Evan Winter is such a great guy, such a great interviewer, for example. I threw some questions at him that I didn't think he would answer, but of course he answered. And he's one of the nicest guys who wrote probably one of the craziest books of all time, but he's such a nice guy. So definitely check it out if you're interested. And I love doing author interviews, and you just never know when we might pop up and do another one. So that was September. September was jam-packed. I hope I didn't forget anything. But yeah, September was a great month. Let's go into October. October. So this is a month full of spooky vibes. This is a month full of fall vibes. The leaves are changing colors. We have Halloween in this month. And I am starting this month by finishing The Hunger of the Gods. I'm on page like 300, and this book, this series, is becoming a favorite of mine. Hunger of the Gods already, I'm 300 pages in. It's already better than The Shadow of the Gods, which that one was absolutely amazing. But The Hunger of the Gods, it's involving more points of view, which at first I was like, ooh, this may be too much, but it is absolutely perfect. I don't know how John Gwynne does it, but he finds ways to mix these points of view into different chapters with the specific characters that I'm a huge fan of. I don't rate books until I finish them, but this one is taking away my sleep. It's entering into sleepless nights territory. And if you've been following me on whatever it's, BookTube or Book Talk, whenever a book enters in that stage, I just start losing sleep over it. And I finish these pretty quickly, but again, my health is probably deteriorating because I'm losing a lot of sleep. But this one is entering that territory. I was up until like 1 a.m. Last night reading this one, and this one has just turned into a banger. Fairy of the Gods come out at the end of this month. I probably won't get to it next month, but this book, this series, and Shadow of the Gods was amazing. We read it in the Lady with Smitty book club last month, and if you're not a part of the Lady with Smitty book club, links in bio. Definitely join them there. And it was so good that we ended up reading Hunger of the Gods for this month too as well. And we never really read sequels for some reason. I don't know how that happens, but man, like Hunger of the Gods, I'm gonna finish it probably this week. Really enjoying it so far. Like I said, this is a month full of spooky vibes, fall vibes, and from a spooky standpoint, you gotta have Stephen King in there. You just have to have Stephen King in there. So I have The Shining. I have The Shining on my list for this month. I'm really looking forward to that there. I obviously seen the movie. I don't think I would rewatch the movie, but I want to read this book. It's a classic, and I really need to get into some horror. I'm not really a huge fan of horror, and the only reason why is because when I read at night, some of these things enter in my dreams. And as much as the fantasy that I read can sometimes be dark, at least there's some bright spots to it. But we are going to go over the edge and read The Shining for this month. And again, if I lose sleep over that too, it's fine. The next book that I have up on the list is another Stephen King book. It's called The Gunslinger. It's the first book in the Dark Tower series that you've all been recommending to me. It's another series that I have to jump into. That's fine. I'll just keep on burying myself in all these series, but it's okay because I've heard nothing but great things about this one too as well. I know it leans not as horror-ish as The Shining, but I'm down for the ride. October just sounds like Stephen King, so I'm in for it. The next book is a book that I asked a few people to give me a horror book that's not Stephen King. As much as I'm reading 2 Stephen King books this month, I wanted a horror book that was not Stephen King, and what I was recommending is The Lost Gods. I think the author's name is Bram. Again, spooky vibes. I'm going to this one blind. I don't know much about it, but I'm really excited to kind of dive into it there and see where it goes. See if I'm into my spooky guy era. We'll see. All right. So also for October, like I said, it is spooky vibes. It is fall vibes, but it's also a great time to read thriller. And thriller is low-key my third favorite genre. And I wanted a thriller that not many people have heard about. I know a lot of people have read it in the past, but not many people as of right now is talking about it. And I was recommending the Ash Kane series. And the first book is called The Unspoken, right? Yeah, again, I have my notes right here. The Unspoken. And I'm really looking forward to diving into this series. Again, it's another series I need to stop, but this is a thriller series, so maybe I can give myself some grace. I haven't heard too much about it. I want to go into this one blind and kind of go from there. But yeah, thriller is a great read for the fall, and October is looking real fallish right now. And then finally, I need to continue my Cosmere journey. And with the Cosmere journey, I'm going to Mistborn Era 2, The Alloy of Law. I'm going to be reading this book this month as I run to the finish line of trying to getting all the Cosmere books read before Wind, and Truth. And these books are not that long. I heard it was kind of a mix of like cowboy and fantasy, and I don't know, but if Brandon Sanderson writes it, I read it. Again, if Brandon Sanderson writes it, I read it. So I am down for that. Really looking forward to that there. I know that seems like a lot of books for this month, but they're not all as long. I mean, Hunger of the Gods is probably the longest book out of all these books. So I'm really looking forward to kind of getting through these books this month and having probably one of my best months. I think there's going to be 5 or 6 books this month, which would be absolutely incredible from there. And then also, I could have another author interview. You just never know what might happen this month. This month is looking really special. I'm really excited to share it all with you from that perspective there. But you just never know what might happen this month. You just never know. As always, everyone, I really appreciate you all. I know you all come on here and you spend your hard-earned time to hear me yap about books, yap about my passion, and I do not take that for granted. The 14,000 of you that subscribe, or even if you're new here, I don't take that for granted at all, and I really appreciate you all, not for subscribing to me, not even for watching the videos, but just reading and just being a part of this amazing, amazing community. Because, I mean, this time last year, I was probably still reading in a bubble. Like, I had nobody to share this stuff to. Maybe a couple months last year, but yeah, this is just very special to me. And every time I come on here, I'm going to thank you all. Like, I know it seems redundant that I thank you all for this, but I really do appreciate that. As always, everyone, enough of the sappy stuff. I hope you have a great October, the start of the fourth quarter. Hope you have a great fourth quarter, and happy reading.